Hey, all, welcome to the Common Good Podcast. Good to have you all aboard. It's a Tuesday, September 12th. Happy September 12th, 2023, everybody. Doug Pagitt here from Minneapolis. Robb Ryerse. Big news today. Soon to be Representative Ryerse.
Just teasing it right out of the gate.
Well, we did put it in the description. So anybody who's paying attention knows this. Yeah, I watch a lot of YouTube videos, Robb, and sometimes people
titles.
Yeah, but they do these big buildups, like in the video part. Like, I am going to share with you something today that, and they go on and on. You're like, the reason I clicked on the video was because of the title and maybe it's just a funny deal. But Robb's got a big announcement today about how to change the heart, change the home, change the state, change the country, change the world. That kind of thing. Anyway, we're going to get to that. In a minute. But it is September 12th. Robb, you know what we were doing 2 years ago today? Riding bicycles across the country.
Well, I was not. You and my wife were riding bicycles across the country.
Yeah. You rode for a little bit during that. I mean, we launched into a 67-day venture.
No, I did not ride. I drove the support vehicle.
Did you never once pedal a bicycle on that whole endeavor?
I never once pedaled a bicycle on that whole endeavor.
That's good.
Yeah. I crashed the support van, remember?
Yes. Yeah, maybe just the trailer.
The trailer, yeah.
So yes, apparently I do remember exactly what happened. Yes, to the detail of which fender it was.
I'm not good at backing up.
You're a straightforward kind of guy. All right, real quick. Weather 68 degrees, 64 degrees, fall-like in Minneapolis already, but it's going to be 80 tomorrow. It's just very, very back and forth. How are things in Arkansas, weather-wise?
A little chilly and rainy today, which is kind of great. Kind of fingers crossed that the soccer game tonight gets canceled because,
every parent's dream, that the school activities get canceled. Well, Robb, I can't wait to get to the update here from you about running for the House of Representatives, State House in Arkansas as a representative. But I thought I'd update you first on my health.
Oh, excellent. No, wait a minute. I mean, just in case people have forgotten, you're doing a juice cleanse, right? And you weren't sure, is it going to be a week? Is it going to be a month? Is it, you're never going to eat solid foods again? Where are you at? How's it going?
Going to be something in between. So I'm at day 8 here. So did a week. Don't really know when. No. So yeah, week was yesterday. Today's day 8. I ate a little bit. I ate like a little bit of cooked vegetables on Friday, had a little bit of salad, just a little touch of something, because there were some circumstances of eating with people that were up and I needed to just be socially, but tried to eat the same things that I would juice. Been feeling great. You lose a lot of water weight in a week, at least if you have my constitution, when you don't consume the other foods and you eat or drink juices and stay hydrated and feel nourished. And I'm not hungry much. But today I thought, okay, I'm going to start to work in a few things. One of the upsides to doing these kinds of cleanses is you then get to bring some foods in, see how your body responds. So I had some eggs this morning, and man, about 20 minutes ago, I'm like, my stomach had the sort of distress that it's had other days. And I'm like, maybe it's the eggs.
Wow.
But the problem is I should have just done eggs and nothing else. But I did eggs. I did a little sip of coffee, just like a quarter of a cup. So now I'm questioning, was it the eggs? Is it the coffee? So the experiment continues. So I think I'm going to stay on the, some version of just vegetables, some version of, I don't know, Whole30, just vegetables, just, something with some protein in it, kind of diet for a while. But probably still drinking it more than chewing it, even though chewing is the thing you miss.
Yeah. Do you have, you've got the big fancy juicer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I will say this time we probably used the juicer one day. And I ordered a 7-day cleanse off of Amazon. They send you frozen juices, Yeah. That helps a lot. I have some stuff I mix in it. I'd use some apple juice, mix some stuff, have some powder. I just kind of a whole mishmash. The biggest problem is after you do this for a while, you just don't drink enough. And you really have to be committed to putting in the nutrients. Yeah, because it's, you don't want to become totally calorie deficient, because then your body does weird stuff, because it's like, oh my gosh, we're literally starving. So you don't want that.
Mhm.
You don't want starvation narrative
Yep.
to kick up in your body.
Yeah,
So
now,
anyway,
is your lovely bride doing this with you, or are you just doing it by yourself?
she was sort of doing it with me, and then she wasn't feeling great, and she's super into understanding her constitution. And
Yeah.
she's like, I think I need just a little bit more food at this time of year, at this time. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but she's super supportive. Like, she made a really great vegetable soup, because one of the ways you can juice is with soup, vegetable soup, a zucchini soup.
Oh,
Yeah, so that was lovely. So, yeah, and she kind of eats that way anyway. I don't
right.
really eat
Yeah,
like that.
she's not running out to McDonald's, on a
She's not pulling through the
daily
drive-through.
basis.
She's very rarely throwing straw wrappers away out of her vehicle to cover up the fact that she may have stopped at a Taco Bell. By the way,
Wow,
can we
that
talk?
felt like a confession that
Can,
hit close to home.
yeah, okay. To all of us, that's to you, Jim. That's to you, Alex. That's to you, Yabbits, and the others that I know are watching right now. Hey, by the way, if we could talk sometime about the straws at Taco Bell, I don't know what they're like in Arkansas. I mean, you probably aren't woke like we are here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, but good golly, those things are they're like paper. They just fall apart and they
Oh,
break and they get holes
at
in them.
Taco Bell?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, but I try not to eat a lot of fast food.
Yeah, and
I
I'm
just
past
fail
the
at that
age.
attempt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly am past the age that I can eat Taco Bell.
Oh, really?
I
It
think. Oh yeah,
causes.
I think once you hit 45, you should just not go to Taco Bell ever again.
I feel like that's
It
when I
feels like a
started.
young man's game.
Huh. Well, okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
maybe.
we'll
I mean, I
like
just
it.
get a couple of tacos. It
Man,
seems like the
man,
most
what?
straightforward food you can get for fast food kind of stuff, drive-through
Yeah,
sort of stuff. Like,
yeah.
just,
They got
I
rid
don't know,
of
a
my
chicken
favorite
taco.
item. I was a huge fan of the Baja beef gordita. Uh, and just loved it, and they got rid of it. So
Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
they lost the customer.
Hey, we're going to talk about all the news stuff and politics, but
Yeah.
again, the big news. Rob, tell us
Big news.
tell us what's happening.
Doug, I am announcing today my candidacy for president. No, not for president of the United States. I am running for excuse me a second.
You about to say this? Wow. And just so you know, your
Oh,
mute
I missed
did
the
not
mute
work. Yeah, your
I
mute did
missed the
not
mute
work.
button. Oh, I apologize for that, folks.
I mean, if that's psychosomatic, Rob, I think you're up to something.
Yeah, it's a
I'm here
bad
to
sign,
announce.
right?
Hang on a minute. I'm having an allergic reaction. I need to suffer this back a bit. So, Mr. Representative, tell us about how your campaign started. Well, I was allergic to even saying the words. I'm running for the state house.
Yeah, so here in Arkansas, I am running for the state House of Representatives to be a state representative of the good people of East Springdale, where I live, and excited about this opportunity to try to bring some sanity to Little Rock and some common sense and some common goodery to help the people of our state.
So, Rob, tell us what a representative does when they're in the state legislature. They represent the smallest constituency size-wise of those in state office. Is that right? So
Yeah.
you're closest to the people.
Yeah, most states in the country have the equivalent of what we have in the U.S. Congress, with two houses, a kind of a Senate and an Assembly, or a House of Representatives, depending on the state. It's called different things, and the state Senate seats, those districts tend to be bigger, and there are fewer senators, and then there are more state representatives. And the idea is that your representative is someone that is close to the people, that
Mm-hmm.
goes as a representative of the people, and in this case here in Arkansas, goes to legislative sessions to make law and set the budget for the state and oversee the allocation of state funds. So it's something that's tremendously important because what we've seen throughout the country is state legislatures that have, um, frankly, been kind of somewhat ignored by by one particular political party for a bit of time. It's has seemed that way, and as a result of that, um, the other political party has been able to focus in on state legislatures
Hmm.
and have been able to use them to push a very extreme agenda that has led to some of the most divisive and difficult things we see in the country. Those things have come out of state legislatures, including, and um, some of them are designed to use states as a experiment for an extremist ideology to see how it works,
Hmm.
and others are designed to get into the court system and utilize activist judges in the courts
Hmm.
to ratify state laws, um, and get them kind of nationalized, which we saw with the Dobbs decision and the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So state legislatures, like it in the world of politics, it's not a super sexy job,
Yeah, right.
but as it's turned out, it's tremendously important
Hmm.
for the future of states and for the country. And one of the things that is a good realization for us, and maybe you're listening to this or watching this from somewhere, and you think, oh well, that's nice for Arkansas. The reality is that what happens in Arkansas doesn't stay in Arkansas.
Yeah, right.
And what we've seen with these state legislatures is there's two things. One is the push to the courts, so that there can be a federalization and nationalization of the agenda, and there is the copycat approach where one state will do something and
Hmm.
then other state legislatures will kind of take their cue. They say the National Football League is a copycat league where every team is trying to do
Yeah, right.
what other teams have done. State legislatures tend to be the same way as well. And so, what happens here is not going to stay here, and its impact will be nationwide. And so, it's tremendously important that we've got folks who will be strong representatives of the people, and frankly, just not go too far. Um,
Hmm.
is that too much to ask? Like, let's
That to be
just not
extremists.
go too far.
The an illustration of things that happen in Arkansas don't stay in Arkansas would include if you've ever eat chicken, if you eat turkey.
Mhm.
Tyson Foods probably has their fingerprints on some of that turkey somewhere. If you shop at a Walmart, those two little things coming right out of Arkansas. So the next time you're at a Walmart, see a Walmart. The next time you see a turkey, next time you eat chicken, you think Robb Ryerse running for the state house in Arkansas, and then go to Robb for Arkansas.com and make a donation. All right, Robb, is I have a couple questions for you about the legislature itself, like how it functions and all.
Yeah.
Yabbits asked the question on our YouTube channel, our favorite place for people to consume the Common Good podcast. How long is the legislature in session? And I will add a question to that so you can throw these two together. Is it a full-time legislature? Is it part-time? Is it for the House? How does that work?
Yeah. So here in Arkansas, it's a part-time position. The legislature is in session for a couple of months, usually in the late spring, um, and take a couple of months to get the work done, and then they can be called back into special session. The governor can call them back into a special session, an emergency session, And we are actually right now on Saturday night, I think, the governor called the state legislature back into emergency session, and that started yesterday. They are back in emergency session because we have two big emergencies facing the state of Arkansas that really requires 135 people to leave their day jobs and drive to Little Rock so that they can turn our $1.2 billion budget surplus into tax cuts for the most wealthy Arkansans. And by the way, also send $150 check to each and every Arkansas taxpayer.
It's not very much.
Real,
You're only getting $150. Well, 300 for your 300 for your joint filing family.
Yeah, not very much. And also, the plan is in this special session to change Arkansas's Freedom of Information Act because I hate this is as crassly and as honestly as I can say it. There are a couple of, and actually, there's probably just one really clever guy on Twitter who files Freedom of Information Act requests and has been posting on Twitter about the spending habits of the Huckabee Sanders administration, and as well as their travel, their travel practices, such as flying using state police aircraft to fly from Little Rock to Fayetteville, which is a 3-hour drive, and so the Blue Hog Report on Twitter has been FOIA requesting these and getting them, and
so they want to limit the amount of information or what someone can ask about, or
yeah,
isn't that the point of the Freedom of Information Act, to make
yes.
the information available to people? Well,
and that's
why we need you in the House, Rob. We got to stop this nonsense.
It's absolutely ridiculous. That they would call a special session for this, an emergency session, because the governor has been embarrassed about that. They had $50 worth of breath mints overnighted to her office, and I'm not exaggerating there. And she's been embarrassed because that kind of stuff has been brought out. It's ridiculous to bring the legislature into emergency session, but it's so much bigger of there's a transparency issue here of you work for us, and this is not your money. This is our money that you are playing around with. And there's certain common sense. We want elected leaders who understand that they're there to be representatives of the people. They're not kings and queens. They're not royalty who get to live the high life because they got elected to some office.
Right. You didn't win the lottery when you won the election. Right.
Exactly. That's a good line.
You feel free. You feel free.
Hey, I might need some help from a communications guy. So we've got, and again, this isn't something that's happening just in Arkansas. A similar law was passed in Florida that that shields Governor DeSantis from having to the public knowing about how much he's campaigning versus governing and who's paying for what and all of that. These kinds of things, this kind of ridiculousness is happening all over the country, and we need people who will stand up and say, you know what, I'm going to run for office, and because this isn't okay.
Rob, who's in the seat now? This is by the way, this is the cover of your website. If someone goes to robbforarkansas.com, 2 B's in Robb. Did you buy Robb with one?
Of course I did.
And it redirects?
Yeah. And I bought the one with the number 4 instead of the 4 written out.
And .org and...
Yeah, and I've got the AR instead of Arkansas. Yeah, I tried to cover all my bases here.
Excellent.
This campaign's brought to you by GoDaddy. So
This campaign had money, but now GoDaddy has all of our money.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is your website. People can go there. They can make donations.
Oh yeah. Smash that donate button,
What
folks.
what was I just asking you?
You were asking. Oh, it was going to be a good question too.
Yeah. Anyway, it felt like an important question to me. And then I looked at why these people are on a bicycle when you just started our interview saying you indeed did not cycle across the country. So, okay, tell us about the design of the website. Home begins here. That's a great theme. Could be a theme for a lot of things, but it's the theme for the representative for the state of Arkansas and the Springdale area.
While our state legislature, you asked about who's in the seat currently.
That was it. Thank you.
Yeah. While our state legislature, including Representative Deanna Hodges, who I'm running against, while the state legislature is, passing big tax cuts and banning books and worrying about pronouns being used in schools and what bathrooms people are using, while they're fighting about those things and passing laws about that, Arkansans in Springdale are like worried about how they're going to live. They're worried about the cost of housing. We have an affordable housing crisis in the state of Arkansas, and particularly in Springdale, it's absolutely crippling. And we need a state legislature that will do something about the things that actually matter in people's lives.
All right. This is one of my favorite questions for candidates.
Yeah.
What can be done in the role that you're running for to address that issue? Yep. This is one of my favorite and I think important questions, because a lot of times people describe problems, they describe the role they're running for, and figuring out how that role is going to affect that problem is a mystery to a lot of people. So the more people understand, hey, you elect Robb, this is going to be addressed in such and such a way. What does the state have to do with affordable housing? What?
Yeah. So that's great. That's a great question, Doug, because it brings out that this is something that needs work from a lot of different levels. There needs to be private-public partnerships. City councils need to think of, and counties need to think about zoning restrictions and how zoning can happen. Here's something that the state legislature can do. Most experts, conservative and progressive, most experts say that one of the best things to help with the affordable housing crisis, it has been tried and true, tested, and has been working all over the country, is to have a housing trust, a fund that can be used to, in a variety of different ways. It can be used to help builders get new houses built. It can be used to supplement people who are renting. It can be used to help pay for fees that people are facing in the midst of trying to get into affordable housing. All sorts of things that can be done. Arkansas has a housing fund, a trust. It was created in 2009.
Terrific. Problem solved.
It has no money in it.
So you're saying
it has not been funded.
Creating a fund is not the same as having money?
I think that a state that has a $1.2 billion budget surplus could fund the trust that already exists, that is proven to make a difference in the affordable housing crisis. So, Doug, that's something very specifically that could be done.
If you are not walking around with like a piggy bank in the shape of a house that's empty in this campaign, there is a fund. Here it is.
We're gonna turn the podcast into a weekly, like a weekly campaign discussion.
Campaign brainstorm.
So I can get ideas like that.
Could you imagine a little piggy bank? Or maybe it's actually a piggy bank because it's Arkansas and they're big into the Razorbacks and all that.
Oh yeah, pigs are big here.
Pigs are big. Right there. I mean, you're just on a roll, baby. And you get this piggy bank that's empty. And you're
Yeah.
like, we all know the point isn't to make piggy banks. The point is to put money in them. Why do we have a fund for
With no
affordable
money in it.
housing? It's like an empty piggy bank.
And it's not like, oh, we had to make some tough decisions. Times are tight right now. It's a
Right.
little. We have
Nice.
a $1.2 billion surplus.
B with a B.
Yeah.
$1 billion. Yeah, I mean, you could be like, the Huckabee Sanders administration eating out of the trough that the pig is. You just got it. Just never. It just never ends. What chances you got for this? All right. Hey, freebies. Anybody in the chat? If you got if you've got a campaign idea. All right.
Yeah.
So see, that's really helpful, right? Somebody who's like, look, here's what can be done if you're a representative. All right. Here's the tough question for you, Rob. You're not going to dodge the tough questions around here just because you're an insider. What can a person from the political party that you will represent actually get done in the legislature in Arkansas?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, we have in Arkansas, as there are a few other states that are in this boat as well. We have a Republican supermajority, which means that there is more than 2/3 of our legislature is held by Republicans, and that means that Republicans can pass anything they want,
Right.
especially spending and budget bills. Budget bills and appropriation bills require a 2/3 majority to pass. And so because Republicans have a supermajority, they don't have to negotiate with the other side when it comes to anything related to the budget or appropriations. So what we've got to do is we've got to break the supermajority, which means we've got to win 5 seats out of 15 that are up. If we break the supermajority, Republicans, at the very least, have to bring Democrats to the table to say, hey, because of the way the Arkansas laws are written, the way we do our budgeting process, breaking the supermajority brings common sense to the table. Now, I happen to live here in East Springdale, it's House District 9. I happen to live in the most competitive, the most flippable district in the state. This seat in 2022 was decided by 108 votes.
Wow.
This district has the lowest voter turnout and the lowest voter registration numbers of any district that is competitive in the state. The party affiliation numbers are just about equal. There is a huge opportunity here to flip this district.
So are you saying if you're elected, that could break the supermajority?
Well, I would have to be elected along with a few other Democrats.
How many would it take?
5.
Currently? 5.
Yeah, and there's about 15 competitive seats around the state.
You got it right there. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And it just so happens that
this is number one of the
seats,
5. Oh,
this is the most competitive.
Yeah.
So, people have asked me, like, you go down there, you go down to Little Rock, like, what are you going to do? And, I think that, there are challenges to get laws passed in a legislature that is, held by a Republican majority or Republicans, especially in a Republican supermajority. But representatives, elected officials, have a unique opportunity to shine the light of truth on all sorts of issues. You think about someone like Katie Porter, who took something as boring as committee hearings, and with her whiteboard and her line of questions, made it, must-see TV, must-see political TV.
For the super politicos of the world, yes.
Like when Katie Porter's when she's doing her work, everybody wants to see it. And that has nothing to do whether or not Democrats hold.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think I would love to bring that same kind of energy. I don't know. We'll have to brainstorm on this one too, Doug. It's not a whiteboard because that's already Katie's brand. But like, what's the like? We got to bring something
Yeah,
to Little
prop.
Rock
Yep.
but bring that same kind of energy of like, listen, y'all have been lying too long. You've been skating on the truth, and like
Right.
we're calling you on it.
I mean, the problem
from
with
here on
with
out.
super majorities, among other things, is that there becomes a groupthink that has power, and it's really hard for people to truly even hear anything else. That's one of the problems with a lack of diversity in any circumstance. And a supermajority is sort of by definition a lack of diversity because it's a super majority, and majority and diversity tend to be in opposition to each other. So what you provide is this opportunity for people to hear other ideas, because you're not going to get a change until somebody has a change of mind, and most change of minds don't come without a better idea. So
Yeah.
there's a whole plan. This idea that you've got five seats to break the supermajority and you're in one of five. I mean, that is feels so tangible.
Yep.
Like, well, what we can do in Arkansas is break the supermajority so that we have a little more representation, and it only takes five. And
Yep.
this is number one.
Yep.
And they got that big number one foam finger from probably the Razorbacks or somebody, right? Somebody's got a big number one finger,
Exactly.
and you pull that sucker out at your campaign rallies. Oh man, I can't wait to move to Arkansas and be your campaign prop guy. Then there's a piggy bank, and then there's a
you're the carrot top of
yeah.
of
Oh
politics.
my gosh. Okay, Rob. So if people want to donate, as people in this stream already have,
Yeah, it's so great. I
they can
appreciate
do that over. How much money is it going to cost, Rob? Let's get down to it. What's it going to take to get you in this car today?
So so in 2022, my opponent, this district was redistricted. There was a very popular Democratic congresswoman or Democratic representative, who, when the Republicans redrew the line, they drew it a block over from her house and cut her out.
And she moved. No. Oh, she
No,
wasn't that committed
no,
to this job. I see. Okay, fair enough.
And so, so it became an open seat as a result of that. Interestingly, it's the only district in the state of Arkansas that is majority Hispanic as well, which is
This new district.
This district that I'm in, that I'm running in. So, in 2022, it was an open seat to new people who hadn't been elected before. The Republican who won raised $25,000, and the Democrat who lost by 108 votes raised $60,000.
Wow. Well, that
So
tells you something. So
that tells you something.
2.5 times as much money and lost
By 108 votes. So I think there's a huge opportunity to run a competitive race with, anything from $80,000 to $100,000. Obviously would love to get more than that, but I know a thing about running a campaign on a shoestring budget, and we'll do that. But obviously, I wish politics didn't cost money like it does, but it does. And
so what do you think? You're going to raise $100,000, $200,000, $1 million? What's it going to take to get you in the seat?
Yeah, I think $100,000 is the goal that we've set.
Yep. Yeah. Excellent.
And the for better or for worse, the good thing is that Arkansas mirrors the federal limits, which means that someone can donate $3,300 to the campaign per election, which means the primary and the general. So an individual could donate $6,600. If anybody's interested in doing that.
And
that
each
would be awesome.
member of a couple can do that.
Yeah.
It's not, so that's $12,000, and you need 8 of those. So if 8 people would talk to their talk to a partner and chip in the max, you're set. You can stop. You can just go buy the signs.
That's right. You just go about campaigning instead of making fundraising calls.
But I will say, I mean, I know people are down on campaigning, and I'm one of those that think small dollar donations from people outside of representative districts is ruined American politics. But there is something when you're campaigning in district or with the people who are going to vote for you, and you ask them to make a financial contribution, it's a way that tends to increase people's interest in participation. They literally feel like they have invested in it. Yeah, so I think it's great. I hope you keep up the fundraising. All right, anything else we should know about this? Well, obviously, we're not done talking about this. We'll be doing check-ins on a regular basis. We'll be driving up a big orange bus into Springdale, Arkansas, yet again, and asking about all this. Did Kelly give you any access to her Instagram audience for this? Is she going to do a dance for you?
She's big on TikTok. Hopefully that
TikTok
will be the case.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully that will be the case. This is the big announcement. This is the first time I've talked about this publicly. And so,
well, I'll tell you, it's nothing to sneeze at, buddy. It's nothing to sneeze at. How long do you think I've been waiting for that one?
It's well done. Yeah. So we'll have some editing to do if we put out a little video of this but I'll be making the announcement later on socials and in some other places. But save the big announcement here for the Common Good Cup podcast.
I will say no better place for us for you to break this news than right here. All right, thank you for running, Robb. Run for your life, my friend. Hey, you have a couple of minutes here before you go off and save Arkansas to talk about a couple of other things.
Absolutely.
So there are some other things happening in the in the world of politics. The House is back in session, Robb. They've flown back in town, and they're getting ready to do the people's business. Maybe shut down the government, and of course, what's all that important to give the green light to an impeachment inquiry this week. Speaker of the House, Representative McCarthy from California, one of those California politicians. See, I don't know why people don't make them just keep piling that stuff on, right? Mr. California.
Southern California too, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's Mid-Valley. So, yeah, but I mean, he would be compared to Northern California. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, he's a Valley guy. Mr. California Valley guy says he wants
congressman.
Wants to impeach Joe Biden based on things that Joe Biden did or did not do 8 years ago. It's just insane. It's just the wackadoodle narrative of all of this is just over the top. That they want to put together the machinations of the House of Representatives that's used for impeachment, which had to be done twice with Trump. One, when Trump tried to lean on the president of Ukraine, who's now in a war with Russia, that before Trump would authorize the distribution of that which Congress had voted to pass on to Ukraine, before Trump would allow those missiles to be released, he, quote, needed Zelensky to, quote, do a little favor for us, which was to investigate Joe Biden, his political enemy at the time. So Donald Trump used his power as the president to blackmail the president of Ukraine to get him to do what he wanted, to dig up dirt on his political opponent. And for that, Donald Trump was impeached. And then leading an insurrection against the United States of America on the day that the official votes of the presidential election were registered before Congress, a federally commissioned constitutional act. That's what Trump was impeached for in his 2 impeachments. And these people are going to use this machinations to try to get the bank records because they think there's something in there. Because they think there's something in there. In the bank records that are 6 years old. It's just utter ridiculousness and madness. And you said it, Robb. You said it 8 weeks ago on this podcast. We're not done with this thing yet. This Hunter Biden, business shenanigans. We're not done with them. And you were absolutely right on that one.
Yeah. So, listen, there is a political semantics game that's being played here
No.
that Republicans are trying to use to make this feel and sound bigger than it actually is. And I think I've kind of made this point as well. So, an impeachment inquiry is not part of the constitutional
Yep.
steps of impeaching a a president or anyone that Congress might have the authority to impeach. Looking at you, Clarence Thomas. Um, uh, it's not part of the process. It is a step that has been added, um, by kind of protocol, by
Hmm.
precedent, but it's not like an official you have to do this kind of thing. Um, Typically, votes to open an impeachment inquiry have been taken, and um, there's been votes that open this up. There's been some question about
Hmm.
whether or not they're actually going to vote on this because that seems to be the magic number today. Um, if Kevin McCarthy loses 5 Republican votes
Yep.
in the House,
High five,
such
baby.
as like something like, I don't know, like Don Bacon in Nebraska, which is a district that Joe Biden won, and Don Bacon's running for re-election against candidate for common good Anthony Vargas. If he loses those votes of people, Republicans who live in Biden districts, and they're a little iffy on this thing, if he loses those and he loses the vote, that's a disaster. I mean, we've seen Kevin McCarthy like have political disasters before.
Yeah.
So
The
I
man's a disaster
would
machine.
not put it past him.
Yeah.
It took him 15
What's gone
votes
well
to be
for this
elected
guy?
speaker. If so, there's some speculation that he might bypass the voting altogether and just
Yep.
open up this inquiry, by Speaker Fiat. This is about. I'll tell you what this is about. Kevin McCarthy is not indicating his support for an impeachment inquiry because he thinks that Joe Biden committed high crimes and misdemeanors. Because come on, I mean, who knows? Maybe he did, and if he did, he deserves whatever the punishment is for that. But I don't think he did. I don't think Joe McCarthy. I don't think Kevin McCarthy thinks he did either.
Wow.
What Kevin McCarthy is doing is Kevin McCarthy knows that he has got a number of political fights coming up, including the possibility of a government shutdown.
Yep.
Those things are looming. And if he loses the support of the Freedom Caucus, the Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan, that whole group of Republicans that have threatened to hold the legislative process hostage, if he loses their support, he's going to have a government shutdown on his hands. He's going to have complete and utter gridlock on his
he's saying he
hands.
needs to give them something. He's got
So he is giving them an impeachment inquiry
so
in
they can say
exchange.
we've opened an impeachment inquiry against
Yes.
Biden.
So they can throw red meat to their MAGA supporters, while Kevin McCarthy can try to keep the business of the House moving forward.
And the reason they want that is because they want to be able to say impeachments don't matter. They want to be able to say Trump was impeached, Biden's impeached, so what? Like all of this, to be clear, is not to try to remove Joe Biden from the presidency.
Right. Because that's not going to happen.
It is not even trying to punish him for behavior that everyone is aware of. It is trying to seek some sort of information about something they're pretty sure exists. Or as the lead investigator and Representative Comer said, there's a lot of smoke here. We hope to find some fire, which is just silliness.
Yes. Or as Representative Nancy Mace said on TV last night, like the reason we have to open an inquiry is so that we can see if we can find some evidence.
Yes.
It's not because they have some evidence.
Right. Now, okay, here's their point. So if you're talking to your Republican friends, this is what you'll hear them say if they're informed. The House of Representatives as limited powers to get information. We saw it in the January 6th Commission. We've seen it on many committees in the House. They can't just get all the information they want from someone. So if your congressperson comes to your door and says, I need to see your taxes.
That is a terrifying thought right there.
I need to see your bank records. You don't have to give them to them. And if they say, oh, I'm a agent of the federal government, I'm your elected representative, you don't have to give it to them. They can't have it. They don't get to say to Hunter Biden or to Joe Biden, we want to see your bank records from 6 years ago. They just can't see them, right? So they have to do things to get them. They can't fill out a FOIA request, a Freedom of Information Act request, because they're not property of the government. They're private records. So this is what the Republicans will say. In order then to get these people who will not work with us, we then have to have some force of law. An inquiry about an impeachment opens up a category of powers that a regular House committee doesn't have. That's why they're doing this inquiry. That's what they will say. Now, you're saying, no, the real reason is they want to give a bone to the dog that keeps barking in the backyard, which is the Freedom Caucus. They want to give them something to calm them down so they can go home and say, we did what we were sent here to do by you, our constituents of parts of Florida and parts of Texas and parts of Georgia. We want a impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden so we can get to the bottom of this. So that's where we sit. So McCarthy, shameless as he is just going to be like, okay, we're just going to move along so we can stop other things. Because what McCarthy is not going to let happen, in my view, is the government shutdown. He's not going to do that. There is as foolish as he is, just like they're not going to default on the debt, they're not going to shut the government down over budget stuff again. It's just, it never works.
It has never gone well for Republicans. Every time they've shut the government down and played this kind of political chicken, they're the ones who lose every time.
It's a tactic without a strategy, and it's just a bad tactic, right? Government shutdowns probably need to exist as a mechanism for some reason. Not sure what the reason is, right? It's the fire alarm, in the school building. Probably do need it, but the number of times anyone's ever had to legitimately pull a fire alarm, pretty rare in every school.
Yeah.
You really don't need to be using it. So he's not going to give them that, even though that's what they really want, because they just want the government to be paused for a minute. Not totally sure even why they want the government shut down all the time. So, all right. So that's up and coming. This is not going to stop. It's going to be alive all the way through the 2024 election. There's going to be, while Donald Trump is on trial in one of 4 different jurisdictions next year, there are going to be impeachment inquiries into Joe Biden. There is no doubt this is what they're doing. It's unbelievable. All to protect this guy. All to protect this guy. Hey, speaking of one of those people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I know she's not technically in the Freedom Caucus anymore because the Freedom Caucus is so extreme, they can't tolerate the moderate nature of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Imagine that. She's too close to the middle with McCarthy for them to let her stay a part of their caucus. So non-Freedom Caucuser Marjorie Taylor Greene says that states should consider seceding from the Union around issues of the border. She thinks that states who keep getting stopped, like Texas, for their immoral treatment of people trying to enter the country legally should secede from the Union so they're no longer under the obligation of the federal government. I mean, Rob, in all honesty, it's just so...
Yeah. So she had said previously, she had made headlines when she talked about a national divorce, which again, for the same reasons, because, she thought that states who are disagree, who, who, who think that, they should have the right to impose these kind of immoral immigration policies, as we've talked about, they should, they should, we should have
Do
a
what she
national
did, which is
divorce.
get a divorce.
And it was kind of clever language that was a little bit vague,
Right. Not really talking about,
something.
a
She
Civil
didn't
War
she didn't
metaphor.
use the word secede. This time she is.
Oh, yeah.
And
No,
I mean,
it's full
she's
on.
making it very, very clear what she's talking about. Listen, Doug, don't
Incredible.
isn't it that someone in the wake of the Civil War, if you advocate for secession, are you allowed to serve in Congress?
I think you're not allowed to be a elected representative if you're advocating for secession.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe
maybe
she
the
was
House needs to
confused
open
and
up
she was trying to refer to a C-section and just said, I'm sorry. Sometimes I say succession, sometimes secession, sometimes C-section. I think sometimes people in states need to consider C-sections because sometimes they're better than a vaginal birth. I don't know. That would make more sense to me if she came back and said, whoa, I am so sorry. I meant to say the word C-section. That would at least.
It was a metaphor, like a national divorce. The national divorce thing gave her, like, using that terminology, gave her plausible deniability that would keep her from, being potentially penalized from,
It's just
serving in the House of Representatives while advocating for this, coming out and saying they should consider seceding from the union. That's as clear language as it gets.
Or she's just trolling us. She's just right now just wants two good-hearted do-gooders to take their time on their podcast to talk about her nonsense. Hey, speaking of nonsense, this guy won't stay dead, apparently. J.P. Morgan allegedly notified the government of a $1 billion in suspicious transaction by Epstein. Like just a zombie that just won't go away. So here's the thing. Are you frozen or are you giggling?
No, I'm okay. Frozen, but it's not technological.
Apparently, J.P. Morgan in 2019 told the Trump administration, just let this sit in for a minute, told the Trump administration that J.P. Morgan and J.P. Morgan's entire business with Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking. That's what it was. $1 billion run through J.P. Morgan that on their analysis of it was human trafficking.
How do you do that?
Sexual human trafficking. Yeah. So the very Republican types who want to say that they are out to try to stop the swamp and protect the kids and stop the trafficking were told by J.P. Morgan, the Trump administration was told, that that's what was up. And now we're in 2023 before that even comes out. Look, this Epstein stuff, obviously lots of people are tied up in it. It's still being kept quiet for reasons we don't know. But the Trump administration knew a lot and didn't let anybody else know what was going on. So it's this whole shenanigans and stupidity around the Republicans trying to say that they're trying to protect against human trafficking. They're just in on it all the time. Look at all the people arrested, all the people implicated, all the people for whom FBI agents have to kick their doors in. And who is it every single time? Republicans. Hey, here's bad news for Joe Biden and Donald Trump. In Iowa, the voters there aren't interested in either one of them.
Yeah, this is an Emerson College poll. they found it of Iowa Republican caucus voters showed support for Trump currently sits at 49%,
Yeah.
a drop from 62% in May.
Yeah, that's
Meanwhile,
indictments, baby. That's indictments.
Meanwhile, a poll of Iowa Democratic caucus voters showed that Biden's support now sits at 50%, a drop from 69% in
That's
May.
Geritol, baby. That's Geritol.
What's so fascinating about this is that both Joe Biden and Donald Trump seem to be losing massive amounts of support in Iowa from their potential
Yep.
voters. And at the same time, there is not a rise of an alternative. On the Democratic side, both of Biden's 2024 rivals, Robert Kennedy Jr. and Marianne Williamson, also dipped slightly. Kennedy dropped 2 points while Williamson dropped 3 points. So
Wow.
Biden
Did they
drops
have 2 or 3 points to drop, those two? Williamson and
Yeah, Kennedy was at
Kennedy?
11 and
okay.
and Marianne was at 10.
It was a rough summer in Iowa for Iowa people. We got
Joe Biden drops 19 points in the polls, and his opponents drop as well. That is, I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah.
And then Donald Trump drops 13 points in the polls. At the same time, Ron DeSantis's numbers drop, Mike Pence's numbers drop. Vivek and Tim Scott go up by 5 points each. Nikki Haley goes up a couple of points. That random dude from North Dakota, Doug,
former governor and multimillionaire, successful businessman.
He went up like it's not like there's a meteor. You know, either of these guys are facing someone whose campaign is catching fire. And people are like, and support is moving from them to someone else. I love when Yabitz like chimes in. Yeah, I know the guy's name. I'm cracking jokes. Though, if you had asked me I only know
literally
because I'm literally looking at the article right.
Yeah, because you're looking at the article. Had you had to do it out of memory, which I'm sure Yabitz did.
Yabitz did.
He wouldn't have come up with Burgum.
That was so great.
Or if he did, you would have spelled it with an E in your mind.
That's right. Joe Biden and Donald Trump have both, in this poll, lost massive amounts of support
in Iowa.
In Iowa.
With no opponents. Yeah.
With no opponents.
So it tells you, and look, to the degree that Iowa is a bellwether, and it very well could be, it just says to me, Rob, I mean, when I see the two pictures up here together, I'm just, again, like, oh my gosh, can't we please take the successes of the Biden administration and just keep rolling and not believe somehow it's only one guy? Look, if Joe Biden is the candidate, I will be spending my year making sure that people vote for him and that more people vote for him in the states that matter to be sure that he becomes the president of the United States. But wouldn't it be great? Don't want to start sounding like the Beach Boys here, but wouldn't it be great if there was something else? And honestly, the two people that don't seem to believe that or know that are those two faces that we have on the screen, which are Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
It seems like people want an alternative to these two, but they don't want the alternatives they've been given.
Yeah, well,
it's because technically both of them have alternatives. It's so interesting to me though that they both
not really, because look, they're both running as incumbents, right? Trump as a failed incumbent and Biden as a current incumbent. So that's not quite equal. It's not like any other candidates that start with the default. So I don't know. I think if neither of them were in the race, any one of these people, I mean, not Kennedy or Williamson, but other people would be attractive to more if they weren't comparing it to this, right? This is like the server at the restaurant coming up and asking you what you want for dessert while you're still chewing your last bite. Like, it's really different than what you were thinking you wanted for dessert when you walked into the restaurant, right? So they're all full of these guys. and they're currently stirred up in them. If they were gone and out of the picture and not an option. And by the way, I got an interesting question, Rob, from one of our listeners the other day, just about something else, and said, why, other than Chris Christie, are none of the people who in 2016 really wanted to be the Republican nominee to be president? Why are none of those people 7 years later offering themselves up to run for president? And that is a curious question, isn't it? I just wrote it off in a quick reply to, well, I think they just don't want to turn their backs on Trump, but I haven't stopped thinking about it. Like, what's up with that? They have all this infrastructure. They'd already raised money. They already had a campaign deal. And they didn't run again. It's just incredible.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that we've got, a whole, and there was a dozen of them that, they're not running it back. Yeah.
None of them. I mean, Marco Rubio, people that people thought were legitimate candidate. Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's just the Trump block, right? Maybe Ted Cruz would have run without him. Jeb Bush maybe just said, "Oh, look, I just have no juice. I'm just, I'm not going to get out there and embarrass myself again." I don't know, but that's all curious. I just think this whole thing
Trump
is
trauma.
Ooh, that's a good phrase. There's a blockage in our political imagination, and it's not great. All right, I think that's what we got. Right? Is that is that it for our little storyline? All right.
Yeah. And like Yevit says, it's like a buffet without a sneeze guard. We're like a podcast without a sneeze guard.
We're like a podcast without a mute button.
I tried to hit the mute button and missed it.
Yeah. All right. Robb Ryerse for Arkansas, robforarkansas.com. Spell it any way you want. Well, you probably got to spell Arkansas right. And you may have to ask your Siri, what's the state abbreviation for Arkansas? Because you may type AK at some point.
Yeah, I'm not.
Don't be fooled.
Alaska.
That's Alaska. Yep. It's AR. Which I'm sure
AR
I
is
knew.
Not Arizona. It's AZ.
See, this is confusing, right?
Oh, seriously.
The state abbreviations.
Have you ever gone down that hole of how the state abbreviations got set up? There's a whole thing of how they got created. That is, we'll have to go down that rabbit hole.
Like, did they? I just thought it was Arkansas was already in, so Alaska had to take AK, or Alabama was already in, so Alaska. I don't know. It just seems like.
Yeah. No. It used to be the 3-digit, and then it got moved to 2. Remember? It used to be.
I don't remember.
Oh, come on.
Do not. Hand to heart, I do not remember when we went. I mean, I often write things as 3 digits, but I didn't know that was official. I just thought I was getting it wrong.
No, it's because you're of a certain age.
That's the kind of thing you're like, here's why I know this, because I'm a man of a certain age, not I'm too old. Like, did this happen when I was busy with children? Is that what you're saying?
I think it was like the mid to late 90s when they made the shift to the to the 2-letter.
I was busy with kids.
Abbreviations. I don't know. We'll have to do some research and come back on this. This is important stuff.
Oh, for sure, we're going to do some research on this. I mean, if for no other reason than just to bore people at the next cookout.
Yeah. If Yabitz and Trisha could maybe check in on this and report back next week.
Would love it. Would love it. Would take any of them. All right. Hey, yes, Yabitz and Trisha and Jim, Mike, Alex, all that have been.
Gene popped in today.
Thank you, Gene. That person, that random bot from
Bush IG.
It's not on TikTok. It's
what's up, G?
It's that's on
we need more.
Where else do we? I still have G spraying here.
Hey, what's up, G?
Yeah, this is where do people do gaming and all that? What's that system called? Anyway, we also broadcast over there on that place where they're
Twitch.
on that Twitch. Thank you. Did I give a clue? Was there a
No,
twitching
I
clue?
knew it.
Was
It just
I twitching?
yeah, you're
Uh,
twitching.
oh, come on. Did Yabbits tell us?
No, it just took me a second to remember because
Okay.
we're old.
We do it over on Twitch too, and that is clearly a spam comment from Twitch that you can do things with. But if you're unfamiliar with Twitch and you're into any kind of watching videos,
What's up, G?
it's unbelievable how many people watch and participate in things. A lot of gaming, mostly gaming, but other things too over there on Twitch. Unreal.
I have a 19-year-old daughter who's on Twitch every day.
Oh yeah, gaming, like playing along or watching people play.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, look, a guy who's a sports fan does not get to roll his eyes at someone watching someone else play a game.
Did not roll my eyes.
Oh, you literally scrunched up your face.
No.
Came out.
I didn't know.
Came out like a twitch.
Listen. Let me tell you. We're 1 week in. My Cleveland Browns are undefeated.
Who'd they beat?
They beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
Did that feel like?
Owned. Yes,
okay,
it felt great.
Did it feel like an accomplishment? Like, hey, that's a tough team, or was it like, hey, no, we do this?
Yeah. The Bengals went to the AFC Championship game last year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's deep knowledge right there. What they did last year. Not only know what they did last week, you know what they did last year.
I don't know what they did last week.
I was walking. Well, they lost.
Did you?
Or they won.
Did you see the big injury last night?
I'm sorry. Did I see the what?
Big injury last night on the fourth play of the game.
No, I heard about it today because I was trying to watch other news, and for some reason somebody needed to tell me about a work injury incident, and I'm just not sure why I need to care about a work injury.
The video, you can see his Achilles, like you see the rupture happen, and it like reverberates up his leg. It's yikes.
Wow. It's hard. It's hard to know how to respond. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry that a 39-year-old person at the end of their career had a hard day.
Yeah. It might be the end of his career, quite frankly. I was thinking this morning in the shower.
Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do when a famous quarterback isn't quarterbacking anymore? Has this happened before? Has this ever, have we as the human race ever had to suffer through a quarterback injury and not being able to play again? I mean, I'm getting verklempt just thinking about it. I don't even.
So I was in the shower this morning thinking about Aaron Rodgers and his
oh
Achilles.
My gosh, it's not the first time, but don't bump.
And I had the thought of like everybody's talking about Aaron Rodgers like medical condition.
Some
well,
people,
Some people, not everybody. A subset of people is talking like our NFL teams. They must not be subject to HIPAA laws.
Great point.
This was the question that like everybody's speculating, and the coach is like, "Oh, we think it's his Achilles. He's going to have an MRI," and like,
right.
Like, what if he doesn't want the results of his MRI released?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're in another work environment, somebody falls off the scaffolding, the foreman comes over and says, "Okay, all of you, zip it. You don't talk about this. You don't tell anybody. It's their business. They're going to get like, don't go home and start, and put your phone down." But here you're like, "Oh, I watched the Achilles roll up the guy's calf muscle,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, the things we choose to do with sports and the pass that we give it, pun intended, is just,
but I'll tell you,
unmatched.
There was, but listen, there was one of the reasons to love sports happened last night. So there's this show, Hard Knocks, which follows each year. They follow a team through training camp, and you get to know the players, and you get to know and love these players that then get cut, and they don't make the team. So Hard Knocks this year was about the New York Jets.
So they've made a reality show out of
training camp, and it's one
sports.
team.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one team that
can't get enough attention.
So one of the we're gonna watch it, and then we're gonna watch more.
We're gonna watch a show about it.
Yeah, and so one of the players that was featured in Hard Knocks, he was a undrafted rookie from Stephen F. Austin University. and whose name is now flying out of my head, Xavier Yabbits. Help me
Yabbits,
out here.
Yabbits.
Xavier
DJ
something.
Yabbits.
He his like the coach telling him that he made the team was on the show Hard Knocks, mate, like because it was this really really cool moment. This undrafted free agent, this undrafted rookie called his mom, who was getting an oil change, and told her that he made the team, and she's crying, and it's this big emotional thing. First game of the season, overtime.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm laughing already. I should not.
The Buffalo Bills punt the ball, and Xavier, this rookie, this undrafted rookie, returns the punt for a touchdown to win the game in overtime. It's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting.
Pretty great.
That here's this kid who gets this shot that nobody thought he would get, and we got.
And he apparently was good enough that he's in there at a key moment in an overtime to be the one receiving the punt. So the kid had some skill. Yeah.
Wow. But I mean, it was
my heart is just warmed. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's may the lion lay down with the lamb level of just. They all be right with the world. May the undrafted super athlete who went to college for free now got put onto a multi-million-dollar franchise and defeated his wealthy foes. My heart. I mean, what's next? A royal wedding? What more could I ask for? To hear the down and outs finally making it. The struggle of the human spirit has once again overcome. Oh my gosh. I think
say go Browns.
This is our bit. This is our bit we need to pull out for a TikTok. If we had anybody that did editing for us, we'd just pull this bit up. Oh, but God love them. But look, there was some great tennis over the weekend. That Coco Gauff was just unbelievable. And then the old guy, some other 40-year-old guy.
Anti-vaxxer.
Really?
Yeah, unvaxxed, anti-vax dude.
Oh, that's right. That's that same guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, he's still a great tennis player.
Sure. Absolutely.
And
can't take that away from him. I hate the phrase "you can't take that away from him." Is anybody trying to?
Yeah. Well, I was trying to figure out a way to take away if he's a good tennis player or not. But yeah, look, I'm not trying to downplay sports, but I was at but my neighbor across the street is a seventh grader. He doesn't live alone. He lives with a family, friends with all of them. Mm-hmm. They had their seventh grade team game at the park right at the kind of the end of our street. So just, simple little jaunt up the road. So I went up to watch this one because I love Oscar and all this. Rob, have you been to a seventh grade football game and listened to parents?
Yes, I have.
I'll tell you,
I had children who played in the band.
Okay. Didn't see that coming. Okay. Well, in between half times, or on either end of half times, there's the game. And there are rare times where you get to see adults cheering on the failure of children. When a child makes a mistake and then parents cheer. I'm not saying when they cheer when the person does the good thing.
Oh, yeah.
May we all receive a medal every day just for getting through the day and cheer each other on. But watching adults cheer at the failure of children because they can't seem to control themselves because of what's on the line in the seventh grade football game was just a reminder of, how this is going for all of us here. Like when I get into why are people the way they are about politics? And then I watch an otherwise very lovely mother who I chatted with, not my neighbors, somebody I didn't know, but was just chit-chatting.
Taunting a random seventh grade child.
Turn her spirit to cheering the failure of a child. I'm just well, this explains border policy, and this explains.
Can I? That's so great. Can I give you my hot take of on
Yeah,
after watching a weekend of football, college football's back and pro football's back, and I watched
please.
a lot of football over the last couple of
Okay.
days.
Do you eat
Which
a lot of chips and stuff, dude? Do you get chips and dip with
no, no,
them?
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no.
do you not snack while you're watching football?
I'm trying for there to be less of me in the world.
Oh,
Um, yeah, and not just trying. I am succeeding at there being less of me in the world.
oh.
Um,
Well, may less
uh,
of you be in the state house in Arkansas.
no, yeah. So here's my hot take. I think when a new football season starts, commercials that aired during the previous football season should not be allowed to be aired again.
Amen. I mean, look, if you're going to stop
Like,
anything,
if you can't, and we might have to pass a law about this, if you can't come up with a new season's worth of commercials, you shouldn't be advertising. Like, oh my goodness, we have seen that this commercial played 8,000 times
but
last season.
mesothelioma is still a problem, and you can still order a free
I'm
book.
talking.
I can't. I've seen that for
Yeah,
25
but
years, and I still can't pronounce the disease.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Mesothelioma.
from Subway to
Yeah.
State Farm to I just come on.
You're bothered by the lack of freshness of the advertising.
I am.
I mean, that
And
that
listen,
is
I'll
a
tell you
true
though,
sports fan's level of frustration. Like, can
yeah,
we just get to it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not the players, it's not the coaches, it's the commercial breaks are just really
Oh,
starting to.
they're just unbearable. Um, there is one commercial I'm quite fond of because Vanessa was sitting down next to me. I think on Sunday afternoon she got home from the hospital where she works and sat down next to me to watch the last few minutes of the Browns game. And the I think it's a Geico commercial came on with the couple who lives in the neighborhood and their neighbors are observant and they're like holding microphones like they're announcers and they're just making snarky remarks about the couple.
I like that idea. I like the premise. I haven't
Oh,
seen the commercial.
it
Like the
it
premise
it
of people with microphones making snarky remarks.
yes, yes, it's got some serious laughs in it. I was like, okay, that's a good one.
But you don't want to see it next year. Come the 2024 season,
No,
you're going to be like, hey,
no,
hey, those were
Geico,
2023 laughs.
seriously,
Spend the
seriously.
money and freshen it up. You
Yes.
see this
If you
comment from
can
you.
buy the schedule, you can like it's like that thing like if you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to go out to eat.
Oh, I
If
didn't
you
know that
can't
phrase.
yeah, if you can't afford to get new
Makes me
creative,
feel
you
guilty.
can't afford to run the schedule.
You see this comment from, yeah, but I learned all the songs for medications for all my body parts. These commercials. That tells me which cable networks you're watching. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, look,
Which
I do think
I've got a whole rant
the
too
marketing is
about
tight because I don't see any of those ads, man. I mean, I tell you, I could sit down and watch the same commercials they aired, for the last few years. They would be brand new to me because I'm just not in the.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
catch some highlights here and there. And true, we've talked about this before. That when we
Yeah.
go around the country, we talk to people about politics. They'll often say, "I'm just not into it," and I have great admiration for that and understanding of that because I'm not into sports. Like I still can't tell you what the mascot name of the hockey team from Minnesota is, which is an improvement because I used to have to say, I'm not sure Minnesota still has a hockey team because we did, and then we didn't. And maybe we did. And then, so anyway, I think we do, but I don't know. And it's super easy to live in a world where I didn't think about football for 1 second this weekend. Unbelievably, right?
Mm.
Almost, I don't know, everyone around. I did go to the 7th grade football game and watch a parent taunt in laughter at the failure of a child. But I didn't watch them taunt the behavior and failures of college students or of multimillion-dollar athletes. It just truly never crossed my mind. I can't tell you the name of the quarterback or the coach for the teams here. I used to follow all that stuff. It's just gone. So I know when there's low information people around voting or politics, dude, no shame in that. Like, I don't know what skol means, SKOL, which people wear on their hats and I see on signs in my area. People drive by and see like campaign. Do you know what skol means? Is that
I do.
Okay. Is it a chant?
Yes.
Okay. For the Vikings alone, or do other people use skol? Is this just a Nordic reference?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
Okay.
It's really like, it's relatively new too, as a thing for the
Gotta
Vikings.
be, because I knew Purple People Eater days. So all I'm saying is, some of us pay attention to some things. Some pay attention to other things. A lot of us pay attention to not a lot of things.
You know what everybody needs to pay attention to, Doug?
Tell me, baby.
The race for state representative in Arkansas's House District 9.
9. Hey,
Because that one's gonna catch fire.
You start right now. I want you to think about 3 numbers, people: 1, 5, and 9. Here we go. There's one district. It's going to be the first. Get rid of the 5 that are needed for the supermajority, and that all starts
in 9.
In 9.
Yep. All right.
People are going to go home, baby, and they're going to remember 1, 5, and 9. Okay, I think Kimberly is skol is a Viking toast. See? Kimberly, well-rounded, knows sports, and knows politics. And by the way, while we're sitting here yapping with yabbits about this stuff, Kimberly says, sorry for being late as I was teaching a creativity and innovation class at a local university.
Amazing. It's amazing.
Day well lived, Kimberly. A day well lived. All right, y'all. We've now stretched into an hour and 22 minutes. But you got to have it on a big day when you're making an announcement for robbforarkansas.com. Spell it how you want, and it'll all lead you to the place where the one race will change the 5, and it starts in 9. No empty piggy banks around here. And there was one other thing. Oh, big number 1. Big foam number 1. Finger. Give him the finger, Rob. That's what we'll be yelling from the background. Give him the finger, and you'll hold up that big finger. Man, this has got some real ability to it. Okay. Bye, everybody.